You are walking into a massive, luxurious hotel. You sit down for dinner, pour a glass of water, and enjoy your meal. Everything feels completely normal, except the entire building you are sitting in is currently being physically lifted into the air. This sounds like a scene from a science fiction movie, but in the 1850s, this was a daily reality for the people of Chicago. Back then, Chicago was one of the fastest-growing cities in America. But it had a fatal flaw. It was built entirely on a flat, low-lying swamp. The streets were a nightmare of deep, thick mud. It was so bad that horses and carriages would routinely sink and get stuck. Worse than the mud was the disease. Because the city was at water level, there was nowhere for the sewage to go. Deadly outbreaks of cholera were wiping out thousands of people. The city was literally drowning in its own waste. The engineers knew they desperately needed an underground sewer system. But you cannot dig an underground sewer when the ground is already underwater. Moving the city was impossible. Tearing it down was out of the question. So, they came up with one of the most insane engineering plans in human history. If they could not dig down, they would lift the city up. Literally, they decided to physically raise the entire city of Chicago by as much as 10 feet. But how do you lift an entire city before modern hydraulics and heavy machinery? You use armies of men, and thousands of simple, hand-turned jackscrews. Engineers placed up to 6,000 jackscrews under the foundation of a single massive city block. At the blow of a whistle, hundreds of workers would each turn their screws exactly 1/4 of an inch. Slowly, perfectly, and simultaneously, entire rows of solid brick and stone buildings began to rise. But the most mind-blowing part? Life inside the buildings did not stop. The lifting was so smooth and precise that businesses stayed completely open. People were literally shopping, sleeping, and eating inside restaurants while the floors beneath them were being raised into the sky. Once the buildings were high enough, workers built new brick foundations underneath them. They constructed a massive, modern sewer system right on top of the old muddy streets, and then paved brand new roads over it. So, how does this change your perspective today? You often look at the massive problems in your life and think they are impossible to fix. You think you have to tear everything down and start completely over. But human ingenuity has no limits. You are walking into a massive, luxurious hotel. You sit down for dinner. And the next time you feel like you are sinking in the mud, remember the city that saved itself by simply lifting everything up.